Sure. So I'm just recording the session. Just waiting for that email to come in so that I can quickly start sharing my screen.
Okay.
So no, I have not received it, Tarun. Could you? Oh yeah, I got it just now. Sorry. Just
Okay.
gonna do that right away. Okay. So is it visible?
I can see myself. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Let's get started. Over to you, Tarun.
Cool. So, hey everyone. Thank you for this opportunity, inviting me to kind of share my experience as a product manager and helping you kind of in the interview process, what we kind of the product managers are looked into, what skill set they are required, and providing a brief intro as to what management is all about. So, wanted to share my experience and give answer any questions that you guys have. So, next slide, please. Yeah. So basically, I will be talking about a little bit about myself. Who am I? What I do, and then we will go into a little bit of like a definition of what is product management, just to set clarity on what product managers do and what is expected out of them. We will look into kind of few of the skill set for product managers, what basically they do, how they work through the process, and then I will share what I have learned from AWS, working for AWS, what I've learned throughout my professional experience as a product manager. And then later on, open the forum for any questions you guys have. Next slide, please. I came to US in 2015 to do my master's in information system, Northeastern University. I always wanted to be a developer, so product management was not something that I had initially planned. I wanted to. I love coding, like I love to code. So that was one area where I wanted to kind of stand out and deliver projects basically as a developer. So after graduating from Northeastern University, I joined Alexa team in the Amazon as a software developer. Um, it was challenging at Alexa. Like again, I did a great projects there, understood like how the Alexa works, which was like kind of one of the um, on the top voice assistant that is in the market currently. So I got to do a lot of work related to Alexa as a voice technology. I was there with the team little over a year, but then during that time, I had done as a developer, I was coding a lot and doing a lot of technical work, and we were basically pushed to do a lot of releases within a little bit of time, like within every quarter there was a release. So it used to kind of bug me, like it used to put a lot of pressure as a developer, like why those business decisions were being taken, which as a developer doesn't make sense to you guys. Like that's too much of pressure. So that is when I took initiative and started kind of reaching out to folks, understand the business prospect of why these decisions are being taken. And I obviously knew that is a reason behind why we are doing quarterly releases, supporting so many products. But in order to get more into like what the reasoning of why is something I that was interest to me, and I started talking to like product managers, talking to leadership. The best part was everyone is open, everyone is ready to help if you ask. So asking for help is very important. People will help you out. So that is when I started looking into the business angle of a product, or any technology, and that is when I kind of I thought that yes, I should be going into a role which is a mix of technical and the business aspect. Um, little over a year, I so Amazon kind of helps you or promote you to kind of change team within the organization. If you want to change your profile, career role, it is highly motivated. So that is how I saw an opening as a technical program manager for in the AWS Educate team. It was as kind of a startup within AWS at that point of time. So I got into that role. I deliver a lot many projects like a job board where you can look for cloud jobs, launch classroom kind of functionality. Hope I think you guys would have used Educate as well in your curriculum. Not sure, but so Educate is basically or was basically at that time a product where educators can invite students in a classroom environment to do courses like big data, basically any courses which requires cloud technology. So if you want to do a big data project or a machine learning project, you can Educate was the place where you can get free access to AWS services, and you can play around with it and to complete your project. So right now, I've been with the educational programs at AWS for over 5 years now. I have changed my role from technical program manager to senior technical product manager. And now I am handling close to 7 products under the training and certification, all related to education, cloud education. And that those all the products are global products. We cover more than 200 countries through those products, covering different section of users. So like wide kind of customer base we have, and that is the whole products that I own and kind of drive the roadmap for all those 7 products. Next slide, please. Now getting into like what is product management. If you are basically a kind of starting new to product role, you don't have experience, it is very important to understand um, the meaning of product management. And this basically defines either you want to get into this role or not. So product management basically can be divided or categorized into like 3 things. One is defining and owning the vision of the product. Once that is highlighted, you need to design what your vision so that you can share with others, and kind of your thought process with others and get there aligned. And then once you get approval, you execute the product and meet at least the minimal viable product if you're building something from scratch. So it product management is, you can think of it as a startup. You're working on a startup. You have an idea, you have a vision that okay, you want to work on it. um, you go through a lot of iterations on that idea, because a vision is something of single statement. I want to build, let's say, a library. That's a very big vision which has a lot of components in that vision. So you need to kind of drill down the vision into small bits and pieces and design like how your library would look like. And once you do that, you start working on different aspect of building a library, like having books in categorized, entry should be restricted, something on that line. So you break down the whole vision and then kind of start working on to it. Next slide, please. Yeah. So talking about vision, like what vision is, basically, when you define or you have an idea, you need to think of like who are your customer base. um, your product that you have the vision for. um, your product is catered towards whom. It could be babies, it could be infants, it could be toddlers, it could be college going students, could be a certain age group, could be something specific to a geographic area. It could be anyone, but you need to identify like your vision is for whom, like who are the customer base. And your vision of a product should basically be solving something. There has to be a problem associated with your vision. If there's no problem, then there is no solution for it. And basically, your vision is, it doesn't cater to anything. So you need to identify the problem statement. Even your problem statement could be very big in terms of like it covers a lot of problem that creates one problem statement. So basically, you will have to then drill down into your problem statement as well, but you need to define what your problem is. And once you have identified the problem, you need to find a unique solution. So in the market, for a particular statement, there would be hundreds of product in the market that would be doing mostly doing the same stuff, like cloud again. All the big companies, all even like small startups are into cloud education, but you need to find one unique um, selling point, like what you call as USP, in order to stand out in the market and kind of differentiate your product from the others. So you need to find a solution. You need to kind of work through it, and it has to be aligned to vision and the problem statement. Next slide, please. So once you've defined the problem, you start working on like you've defined the features that you want. You start designing on uh, small bits and pieces. You need to kind of break down the solution, kind of prioritize the features that you want. Basically, when you identify the solution to a problem, there would be 100 tasks to achieve it. But you cannot wait to complete those 100 tasks in order to launch it. You need to kind of prioritize what features are important and that is relevant to your customer base. Enhancement and improvements can come along as the next phases, but for first phase, what features are important without which you cannot launch. So you need to identify those features. If there is a solution that exists, maybe you are not starting or you're not working on a product that is new, or there is a competitor already there in that space, you need to define and make improvements on the existing solution. um, Working on product or delivering or launching a product is not a one-man job. You need to collaborate with a lot of stakeholders, starting with designers who will kind of work on putting um, give you looks to your features, like or the vision, like how your product will look like in terms of the front end. Then you work with basically the engineers and develop the back end. So they are the one who will put they will make your product basically. So you need to collaborate and should be able to communicate your vision to them so that they can build in that order. So the detailed, your specification or what you want, your requirements should be very detailed, crystal clear to all the stakeholders so that everyone is aligned to your vision and they know what is the end result that they're working for. So clarity is very important in the design phase, so that, and clarity should be to like all the stakeholders should be very clear on what they have to do. Next slide, please. Once you have designed, the next step is execution, basically like start actually working on it. So once you have your features ready, you break down into small tasks. You when you say you want to have, let's say for example, in a library management, you have books in there. You cannot just ask an engineer build books or a storage for books. You break down into like, okay, how many books should be there in one row? Categorization. So you break down, you drill down your feature set into smaller tasks so that engineers can start working on it. And they will like every all the stakeholders will come up with questions. There would be some gaps or something missing, a use case, a scenario which you might not have think of. So it this is the time where you cover those scenarios. You do like a quality check on the requirements that you're presenting to the stakeholders. So this is the time where like you drill down, and this is the starting point for implementation. Like basically you start working on it. And you this is like when you start working on it, you learn a lot when you're collaborating with stakeholders. uh, Sometimes you are not able to cover all the scenarios, and then later on you will see that okay, things broke. It's fine. You need to kind of learn from your mistakes and make sure in future you don't repeat it. Next slide, please. So what we covered is basically the product journey. Like this is how things will work on high level. Now, in order to become like a successful product manager, what is important? And this is something that while giving an interview, you as a product manager needs to focus whenever the interview questions is asked, and like, okay, what do you think about XYZ product? These are the things that you need to kind of cover in your product manager interview. Focus in the detailing. Like a product has very small details, starting from something that is functional to like who can use it, accessibility, very small piece like look and feel, colors, font size, everything, like minute to minute details need to be covered in here. Like it is very important for product managers to cover all aspect of a product in terms of front end, back end, everything. So you have to be very detail oriented and kind of think on what a final product should look like and make them perfect. Again, there will be like hundreds of requirements, hundred of functionality that you want in your product, but you cannot achieve anything. So prioritization, and whatever you prioritize has to be perfect. Again, yes, there are always bugs in the product, that is fine, but whatever you feel is the requirement, you have to nail it down and prioritize it and make it perfect for your customers. Also, the product editor, basically, you curate your ideas. There will be multiple ideas in your mind to solve a particular problem. You need to kind of um, prioritize those ideas in the sense like, okay, if I have a deadline to meet, like I want to launch something by end of the year, out of X ideas, I can go with one idea that is feasible and kind of achievable by end of the year. So you need to do it in a way to meet the deadlines, and also in a good way, in a like perfect way that you are helping customers get something out of your product. And the MVP, which is the minimal viable product. um, so all the P0 item, which we call is priority, high priority, or critical priority requirements, that has to be there in your product, without which you cannot launch. It is very important to launch. If you're starting a new product, it is very important to have a minimal viable product, because those requirements that you have in your MVP is very limited, and you will get the customer feedback on very crucial features or very important features on the requirements that you deliver in your through your product. You will get like very specific feedback from your customers, which will help you drive the long-term vision for your the product. So it is very important not to cover 100 things, but to do 10 things and focus on making it look appealing to customers, and make they do what they're supposed to do basically. Next slide, please.
Tarun, should we just one question? Sorry to interrupt. There are a couple of questions that are posted on the chat. Do you want me to read that out as we go along the PPT, or do you want to keep that towards the end?
I will keep at the end, because I want
Okay,
to just rush through these slides and focus more on the questions. Then, like when I'm the Q&A session, I can answer anything.
done. I'll move on to the next one.
Yeah. So yeah, quickly going into what I learned from my role as a technical product manager at AWS. At Amazon specifically, data drives everything. Like everything you work on has to be supported via data. Um, so if we are pitching any new product, We need to provide data to support it. Until unless we don't have data, your requirement or your product idea is thrown away. They won't even look at it. The first paragraph should contain the data to support your vision. If that's not there, they won't go to the next paragraph. So you need to support your idea and that it has value, and your value comes from the data. So uh, data is now the king in the market, and everyone talks about data. The whole industry is about data now. Next thing is growth. So once you've launched your MVP, minimal viable product, and you get the customer feedback, customer then drives the next step of the product. What you want to deliver as phase two or version two of the product depends a lot on the um, customer feedback that you've received. If they say that, okay, I want this and this functionality, and you hear a lot of customers saying that, then you have to prioritize it. You basically ask the customer the requirements, and that drives what are the next steps, and that's how your product grows. Your product is for customers. So once you've launched the kind of MVP or first phase of your product, the next phases will be driven by the customers and not by you. Basically, it is the customers who need to use their product, so they will tell you what they want and what they don't want. Next is the leadership. Like, as a product manager, you're working with so many stakeholders, be it marketing, legal, operation, customer support, business holders, technical team. You need to interact with um, all those stakeholders. You need to gain the trust of those stakeholders, and then you need to ensure that they're aligned with your vision as to what you want to achieve. Alone, you cannot launch a product. Alone, you cannot make a successful product. It has to be a team collaboration. And product manager, as a leader, you need to motivate everyone to help you what you want your product to be. So it is very important you like inspire others to kind of work on your product, motivate them, and get them aligned to the same vision that you have. Next up. So basically, these were the learnings that I took from like Amazon. I don't come from a like I didn't do any degree in product management. What I've done is through organic learning from peers and basically what I've experienced through while becoming a product manager. So this is all industry experience that I have here, and probably will share in the question answer round as well. So yeah, happy to answer any questions that you have.
All right, so I'm just gonna um, close the PPT and open the chat
Yeah,
here. So if it's visible, the first question we have is how do we prioritize the features? If you could provide more insights about it.
yeah. So again, once when you are planning or when you have an idea of the product, you list down all the requirements. Um, it could be 10 requirements. These it could be 100 requirements, as many requirements as you can think of. Then again, you need to have a timeline as to when you want to launch. When you are working on the whole vision and idea, you have a you need to aim something like, okay, by X time, X date, I will launch. So once you have that aim and you look at the requirements, that is when you will figure out like whether if this requirements will block your launch or not. So your question as a consumer would be, is this the requirement I really want in my let's say product, without which I cannot use that product? So for example, login any kind of product will possibly have login functionality. So I don't build a login functionality, that is a blocker for my project. Functionality has to work without any bug basically. So it is important to nail down whether that requirement is a blocker for the launch or not. When you do that, that's how you kind of prioritize and think about like, okay, this is something I want in my MVP. The other factor is the impact that it will have on the customer. So when you have the requirements, when you want the features that you need to kind of put into market, you need to also figure out the impact it will be having on the customers. Whether, let's say, in your product, you have a functionality which would only be used by a certain customer. So, for example, in educational product, we have a job board. So, in that job board, the only 18 plus people who are looking, who are in the market, will apply for job, but not for the minors or who are under 18. They probably won't look for jobs. So if our product is targeted towards those minors, job board, resume upload, those functionalities will not be prioritized. That maybe that comes in P1 and P2. There would be few minors or less than 18-year-old who want to apply for a job, but that is very small portion of the customers that we are targeting. So that is not a P0 or a you know customer base that we are targeting, at least for the MVP.
All right. So moving on to the next one, how to develop the business skills and aptitude coming from a tech background. Is there any online resources that you used?
So if you're coming from a tech background, you, I would like from my personal experience, you have a little bit of edge here. So whenever you are approaching any technical problem statement, you kind of start thinking in a way that is uh, generic. Like you're not hard coding any stuff, or you're not building very specific. You look some you're working so that it is um, like it can be used in future as well, like the same code base can be used in future as well. Same goes for business as well. So when you are given a problem statement, um, you have there are a lot of approaches that you can take to solve that problem statement, and that is something and it's going to be non-technical, like the problem statement when you are developing your business skills. So you need, the way that you need to kind of build is think about each problem statement as a startup idea. You think about and you can take day-to-day life, like okay, if I want to build a microwave, for example, um, from scratch, and microwave doesn't exist in the market, how would you approach that, right? So online resources will tell you, will help you out, obviously. But frankly, in my personal experience, you have to build your own thinking, logical thinking, and it is, you need to communicate with others. You talk to your friends, you get their ideas as well. Like approaching building a microwave, my approach or my solution would be different than maybe your friend approach. So, and it could be your approach is better than your friend's approach, but obviously you will learn something new. So it is all about discussing a problem statement with other folks that will teach you, that will help you think more in the direction or build or broaden your vision for a problem statement. So um, my personal experience, like I have got help talking to my peers and friends, discussing about a problem statement, that has helped me grow. In So every problem statement is a case study. If you go on YouTube and search for Victor Chen, I think there would be like 15, 16 YouTube videos about case studies, and those are very good. Like those are terrific. So that will help you understand like how to approach a problem statement. But then again, you have to kind of work on your own as well to develop that kind of thinking. But Victor Chen videos will give you pointers as to on what line you should be thinking. So look for that. And he's a old professor. Videos will be very old, but they, I think in MBA degrees, like also the Victor Chen videos are followed. So uh, that's a good resource for to start for.
All right. So moving on to the next one, how do you start making decisions as a new product manager?
Um, So as a product manager, you have very, like, you are authoritative and you have a lot of ownership. So in order to take decisions, you have to think yourself as an entrepreneur, and thinking that, okay, this is your product. You, once you have to feel about a product, that's when you kind of start owning things and you start making decisions. And whatever decisions you are taking, it has to be backed by data again. So in order to prove your point, like, okay, this is what I want to do for my product, and this is the reasoning behind it, and everyone should back. So it is about how you kind of approach in terms of taking the decisions, and you have to collaborate with others in your decisions. So um, you need to also, since you will be working with different stakeholders, it is important to take everyone's point of view, but the overall decision taking or end result of the decision depends on, like, that is something that you own. So first of all, feel like you are a product manager. New product manager, again, kinds of question mark that you're thinking as well, like, hey, I'm new, I don't have the knowledge. So you would be hesitant in kind of taking decisions. No, you need to own it. It is, as a product manager, you own it. It is your baby, your decision how you want to grow your baby. So work towards that. You can take inputs from others, but it ultimately it has to be your decision, and that is supported with the data.
All right. So here's another interesting question. How does Amazon collect customer feedback on products? Is it surveys or any other methods that are used?
So that, like, each product, each team basically uses different kind of approaches to get customer feedback, and it depends. So if you go on a Amazon.com website, there are reviews. There will be, like, you can give them ratings. We do like focus groups. Basically, we kind of help go with to few of the customers, get them NDA signed, and they tell us wholeheartedly what they think about the product. We kind of gather feedback. We do surveys. We have analytics on our web pages. So basically, that tells if a functionality is being used or not, how much time is spent on a particular functionality. So those things are captured as a customer feedback. So we directly interact with customers as well, and indirectly through analytics and service. We also have like look at the tickets that comes in from the customers, whether on a particular requirement, how many tickets are coming. So if we build, for example, login experience, if we are getting many tickets associated, problems associated with the login experience, we need to fix it. Because that's impacting customers. So customer tickets is also one of the ways that we gather feedback.
Okay. So here, the next question is for most of the freshers and the students at our university. How to land a product management role in the US market as a fresher. But however, I do have experience as an analyst back in India, but not in product management. Any specific course that you would suggest?
If you Okay, so the as a product manager, it is tough to, if you don't have experience as a product manager, it is tough to get into this role until unless companies have like junior product level or associate product level. So not all companies have those entry level openings, uh, but like companies have different profile names. May not say product manager, but they may say, some companies call it as business analyst. Again, you will see business analyst as kind of, if you go through the job description, it would say, it would be very technical. They would ask for like um, uh, you know data experience and machine learning experience, but there will be few business analyst role which requires communicating with different stakeholders driving the product. Though they are not called product manager roles, but they do the same job what a product manager would do. um, the best thing is like, okay, the way that you can crack into like product manager role, if you want to get that title of product manager, um, idea is to get an industry, like look on LinkedIn, look for managers or head of product, or look for product managers on LinkedIn, interact with them, go on like chat with them. If they are in the same area, go on a coffee, chat with them. Uh, Most probably, and also talk to them if they have an opening, either as an intern or full time under their team. If you make create like a good rapport with the managers, it is high probability that if an opening comes under them, you will be their first pick, since you've interacted, you've shown your skill set, they know you. If they can, they are your mentors, they will pick you up. So you could, this is also one way that you can target. Other path could be like the way I follow. I became developer and then I joined as a technical product manager. So big companies, they have that provision that you can switch roles and profiles. All the big companies allow you, and they everyone is kind of motivates you to do that. And within the team, you can pick a mentor and start working with them, and they will guide you throughout the process. So that is one thing you can do. My advice, looking at the current economic condition in the market, I would say get into the industry, and you can switch your roles at any time. It is not that if you enter into a job market or with a one profile, you cannot switch to other roles. That's not true. And if you are, let's say, again, your resume is your first entry point. So you know what a product, you should know like what a product manager does, and that should also come out in your resume as well. Even if you've worked as a developer, you can curate your resume that shows your ownership, like talking to other stakeholders, how you drive the project, kind of writing documents. You can do that as a developer as well. So you can showcase for an entry level product manager you've done all those kind of stuff.
I just have a question on this. If I do get into an industry with a different role but not product management, how long does it normally take to transition?
It totally depends on you, like how, like the zeal in you. um it should not be like, okay, if you enter into the industry, you get comfortable in learning about what your current role is. um there is no such rule that okay, you have to be in a company or in that role for x amount of time. There is no such rule. You can switch team, change roles within 6 months. I have seen people changing their roles in 6 months within a company. They change the teams. It's not like managers would feel bad. That's not the case. So as quickly as 6 months, you can switch roles.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is, how would you transfer from a project management role to a product management role, and also the difference between the two?
Okay. So project management is something which is targeted on a specific project. So if there's already a product available in the market, and if you're working on a specific feature set, then you're probably doing a project management role. You are not do and you do not control the whole product. You're you are like one way, looking straight to that feature that you are supposed to do, nothing else. That's the job of a project management. And once you've done that project, like launch that feature set, you go into a different product, maybe work on a different project. That's it. But as a product manager, you own the whole product. What goes in and out of that product manager owns that. They control how your product should be, what um, which customer it caters to, what changes to go in, what like if you want to deprecate a functionality, product manager does that. The product manager can change the product in a night. Like they can do anything with their product. Project management or project manager doesn't have that kind of ownership here. They are here. Project manager basically does one project at a time. After that, they are done with it, and somebody else would take over.
All right, so
Project,
let's
but
go ahead.
one quick thing, like project manager is basically a good start to become a product manager. Like you've worked on something, and again, project, when you are doing project, you obviously interact with other folks as well within the team in order to launch that project. So it's a good start. As you gain more experience into project manager, you can get into the product role as well.
Thank you, Tarun. We have another 8 minutes, so we can pick a couple of more questions. But in case we don't, can we send across the questions to you? And
Sure.
is it possible for you to get back with answers later?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah,
All right.
that works.
So I'll cover a few more. So, in this market, what would you recommend to help candidates stand out during the hiring process for product management roles?
What would you recommend? Candidates stand out. Frankly, your resume is very important because of how the market is. Um, so many layoffs has happening. Like there are a lot of people in the market, and experienced one. So in order to get an interview call, your resume needs to stand out. Like even experienced candidate needs to be, uh, defeat them basically. So your resume has to be very crisp and very specific. Uh, I have seen resumes which are very generic and which will throw like all the product management jargons in the resume, but that doesn't tell me that who you are, what you've done. You have to be very specific as to what you've done in the project. Even if it is your academic project, you need to uh, you need to show that what you've done in there. uh, People write resume with jargons so that it goes through the ATS system as catches the keywords, but that won't get you an interview, because not just like if it passes through ATS, it won't necessarily get you a call. So you can have a skill set section in your resume which can showcase like, okay, these are the skills that you have, but your project should be catchy enough, tells you about your role in the project. So that is the, I think, one thing that you can do. And you have to believe in yourself, that you're good enough. Right now, like if you get an interview, even a single interview, you have to make everything out of it, like because the current market, you getting an interview itself is hard now. So if you get an opportunity, grab it with both hands, put all the effort in there, and a week before your interview, start acting like you are product managers, start acting like you have that authoritativeness, your ownership. Like even when you're talking to your friends and peers and let's say anyone, you should feel come out as a strong character. um, think about yourself as an entrepreneur, because a product manager itself is kind of an entrepreneur. It's just that you're working for a company, but think of as an entrepreneur, and you will kind of, people will get your personality. A lot of things depends on your personality here. So uh, start thinking, behaving like a product manager in your day-to-day life, and you will be able to grab the interview.
So, a follow-up question on that would be for me, especially if I do not have any technical skills as such, not very much into coding as yourself, but just a basic analytics stuff, like collaborating. So, what are the other technical things that I can include into my resume to highlight
um,
some of it?
Yeah. So basically, in the product manager role, there are two types of roles. There's a technical product manager and a product manager role. So technical product manager roles are little technical. Not You're not expected to write a code or anything,
Okay.
but you will be interacting with engineers, so you should be
Okay.
able to have a conversation with them. So if you need to get an idea of the technologies, like you should understand the technologies like big data, cloud, all the buzzwords that are in the market, machine learning, so that okay, if you're talking to an engineer, you are able to strike a conversation. You're not expected to know, like okay, like KNN or algorithms, different algorithms. That is not expected out of you, but high level, you can strike a conversation with them. Um, so like I would say, just get a brief overview of the technical terms and kind of fields like AI, machine learning. Get to know what these are basically on a higher level,
Yeah.
and that should be good enough. You are not During an interview, you are not going to code. It's just simple. People will understand. Okay, we will create a database. That's it. Like if you say the word database, you are qualified for technical product manager. They are not going to ask you like what database you will use. Those kind of
Okay.
questions won't come.
Okay. So you won't even have to do a code review or anything of that sort. Okay.
No,
All right.
I don't do code reviews. I just pass on the user stories and like things to the engineers. I do kind of
Okay.
do UATs and like I talked about like APIs and let's say scraping, those kind of stuff. I do talk with engineers. So that's probably it.
Okay. So do you have to, so it's not how much of technical skills do we have to have if we want to become a technical product manager in a company, at your company? Yeah, that's the
Uh,
question.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
The question is how much should a person be equipped with technical skills as a technical product manager at AWS?
You basically should be able to um, understand the system basically of a product. Um, let's say if I the reporting is kind of important, because as a product manager, technical product manager, you will play around with the data, be it Tableau, be it any other visualization tool. So if you could like do the visualization tool, okay, obviously no one is going to ask you in the interview to like how you use it, but you should be able to create dashboard on your own. We do use Salesforce, so we can create reports. Um, Again, I would say it's all high level, and it a lot depends on the team as well, like how much they are deeply rooted with the technical functionalities. But don't don't get into a lot of technicalities before your interview, rather than brush up your product management skills. uh, but you should know like what database is, what API is, what uh, you know different calls or like integration with, let's say, third party vendor. If you say API, it's fine. uh, like
Okay.
so those sort of things would work.
Right. So in on a general, on a general note, if a product manager belongs to, if he's working as a product manager in a company, is he always more aligned towards the technical roles or is it more strategic? Does that depend on companies and how is it in AWS?
It so uh, Being the technical product manager, I'm the only technical product manager in the team right now. So
Okay.
I am into the engineering kind of line, as and I'm the only
Mhm.
technical product manager. But since I interact with like seven different products, each program has their either a program manager or product manager. So I interact with them. So if anyone is being interviewed for my role, they will ask questions a little bit technical, like
Okay.
database, and they will ask. But for a product manager role, if the title only says product manager role, they won't ask you any technical question. Only thing that they could ask is something related to data, like how will you read data, how will you make sense of data. Those sort of questions will be asked, but they won't ask you anything else in terms of technical. It will be purely focused on um, how good, how do you have a skill set and knowledge to launch a product, basically. Those sort of questions will be just touched.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you so much, Tarun. I think we have hit the time. So the rest of the questions, I think we'll be sharing it with you. Maybe if you do get time, you can let us know, and we'll be putting that up on our website. So everybody who's asked the rest of the questions and if they're not answered, we'll be uploading it on our website. Thank you, Arun, for sharing your expertise and knowledge with us today. The presentation
Yeah.
was great and appreciate your time and effort into making it. Glad to have you here. Thank you, everybody.
Cool. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, feel free to reach out to me over LinkedIn. I'm happy to answer any questions. And yes, forward me the questions. I'll respond back with the answers.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Have a great
Thank you,
evening.
everyone. Take care. Bye.